This is a Headgum podcast.
No rap. We can discuss, give me your truth, it never fails.
All right, let's kick it off, man. What is going on, everybody? It's your boy, Lil Real. And right now, you're tuned in to Keeping It Real with
Young Wayne.
And look, we have a special guest today.
Yes, sir.
I should let Wayne. Should I let you do it? You don't never intro the guest, do you?
No, you just go. It's all good, but I mean, how do we describe everything that you are?
Well, first of all, he's one of my favorite people. I'll say that first.
Yeah.
And we worked together. I like the way we met and how he even asked me to do Clouds and where we were at. You know what I mean? Like, it's actually a good random story. But introduce it and we get into that.
I mean, what we going? Actor, but you're way more than actor. Author. I mean,
Director.
I mean, you're reshaping everything. You're reshaping life. Hey, man, let's give it right now, man. Justin Baldoni, man. Y'all give it up right now for
What
Justin.
up, Justin?
What's up?
You're like the first person we asked to clap for. I don't think we've ever done that, actually.
I tried to wear my headphones like yours, but I don't have a hat on, so I'm going to have to go over the hair. It's cool. How we in?
It's funny because I'm far away, so I can't see everything. But from here with the hat and the headphones below, it looks very Amish, Rel.
I'm known to be a hip hop Amish man.
Wow.
No, I don't know what I'm talking about. Only way I know about Amish is from the bowling movie with what the heck? Y'all know who I'm talking about. Never mind.
Yeah.
It don't have nothing to do with it.
We don't know.
Yes, you do. It's a comedy. It's about an Amish guy who's really good at bowling with Bill Murray. Yes.
Okay.
That's what it was.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I forgot what it was called, but it's really good.
What?
All right, never mind. I had nothing to do with it. Justin, I'm gonna let you know this happens a little bit with me. Where I go like random rants that have nothing to do with anything.
Oh, I know.
It's okay.
I directed you in a movie. I'm fully aware of what you do.
He knows you.
You be telling nobody my secrets.
It doesn't matter if it's the last take and the camera's running out of battery. You were still going,
I will still go.
and it's and the movie's all the better because of it. So I'm here for your rants, my man.
Oh man, I appreciate you, man. Like you're like, you know what's funny? You know, I did your podcast, and I like when I do things that like I come out feeling better. You know what I mean? It was just such a good. I've like watched my episode outside of other episodes a million times, and I don't know why, because it's something really healing about just having a conversation about and just being honest. I think you're brilliant. And by creating, the Man Enough podcast more than anything, it's helped so many men understand what's actually truly man enough, and it's not from the old school, keep it macho. That's what they got to name the new books about men.
Yeah,
that want to be like toxic. Just call it keep it macho.
Keep it a macho. Yeah. Oh, I appreciate it. That's really sweet.
But I appreciate that. I thank you for having me. That's when I had my full quarantine beard.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, and you look good.
But it was crazy. It wasn't good to me. When I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's when I didn't go anywhere. Like when I look at it, I'm like, wait a minute, that was my full blown unlined beard.
Yeah, because that was one of the first times I went anywhere because we weren't allowed to go places, and so we just said, you know what, let's shoot, and yeah, it was so nice to see people. That was about a year ago. Now.
That was like a year ago. That actually was one of my first places I went to. Actually, now that I think about it. That's why I didn't have a haircut. I was just like, when I think about this, is me coming out the house, doing squinting at the sun.
Kind of looking like me now with my long hair and my beard. So,
but you look cool though. Like you always look cool. I think you're one of those people that look cool without trying. You know what I mean?
That's very sweet, man. I'm just gonna hang out with you guys all the time, and get my ego boosted, and start to feel a little more confident, secure in myself.
Man, just call on in, man. Just call in.
So look, it's a gang of stuff, man. I want to get into with you, But before that, I thanked you for one thing, but I want to thank you for let me be a part of Zach's story.
Oh,
and I try to describe this set to people. His mom was there and family. It just felt. It felt beautiful. It felt like it was healing to them to be there, actually. Which I think it probably could have been tough. I don't know. I probably would have had a really tough time, but they were just so nice. And I remember at the takes of things, and they'll be standing on the side, you walk past them, and just they give you a little grin and just almost felt like thank you every time I walk past them. You know, and this actually kicks off from something you did that was more personal. You know, when let's dive into that. Like, what made you want to tell a story like Zach's story? Let's go even before you even got it to Zach.
Yeah, so I mean, for anyone who hasn't seen it, Rail starred in my film Clouds, which you can watch on Disney Plus, and it's a story of a friend of mine. We became friends because I was making a documentary series called My Last Days. I was an actor for a while, and moved to LA with big dreams, like everybody, and had a little moment of success, and then just found myself like deeply unhappy, and just always going out to play roles where I was, shirtless or, like basically, I'm white, so they were trying to make me like Mexican or Iraqi or all of the various different things, because that's what Hollywood does to those of us who are ambiguous. And I was just like, what am I doing with my life? And I have a very deep spiritual belief. I'm a Baha'i. And in the Baha'i faith, we believe in the unity of all the religions. Like, we're all different chapters in one book. There's one God. God loves all of us. And we think of the religions like grades in a school, 1st grade through 8th grade. You move on. You don't hate your last teacher. You just bring it with you. And the purpose is unity. And there's a lot of talk about and teachings about what happens after this life and where we go next. And I've always been fascinated by it, because it seems to me like the one thing we will never talk about. We don't want to talk about like what happens when we die, because our lives are so important to us here. It's hard to imagine us not existing. And yet when you look at history, it's very clear, like, we're going to die one day, as dark as it is. You guys are looking at me now like, why did we invite Justin on this podcast? This must be funny.
First of all, we could pause right there real quick, because I want to jump in on something.
Yeah, please.
It's so interesting. I didn't even know that, I didn't know that existed, because that's how I live my life, just in general. I grew up, growing up in a Baptist church. And as I traveled the world, I just was like, why would God have one way of teaching all these different types of people around the world?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense, right? And so I love the fact that you brought that up, because I think that's why I like people so much, because I respect everybody's route to getting to their faith.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's the same. Love is really what, and I know as corny as that sound, that's truly what it comes down to.
It's love. Yeah. Well, that's the fundamental building block of all religions. Is love. They're all different ladders that just get you to the same place. The difference is some are a little more rusty, and you want, there's newer, more attractive ones. I don't know. Anyone can look at it differently, but they're all taking us to the same place. And so for me, I was always just thinking about like, wow, where do we go? What happens? And as I have been dealing with my fear around death, I had this idea to make this show where I just traveled and talked to people who were living with terminal illnesses. And I met this amazing young kid named Zach when I was doing this show. I gave up acting. I was broke. My house went into foreclosure, but I was happy. And I felt like I was living my purpose. I was directing. I had $4,000 an episode. It was for YouTube. But I just believed that it could make a difference. And then Zach's video became like one of the most viral YouTube videos ever. It was the 22-minute long documentary. It got like 14 million views. And I was like, oh, wow, this can work. Like, people are hungry for it. And so when I fell back into acting and I started building my company and, directing movies, that was always one of the ones I wanted to make, like Zach's story, because I just felt it could really touch people and make a difference. And so that's when I reached out. That's when I slid into your DMs, in a very different way, and you responded, man, and because I knew I couldn't get you. I knew getting you was going to be really hard. You were, just off of some huge movies, and I don't know how you do it. You make like 30 movies a year. I've never you and Sam Jackson. I don't know how you guys do it. But when I pitched it to you, you were like, "Oh wow, this sounds really beautiful," and I was like, "This is not at all the guy I thought he was." And luckily, that helps when we reached out to your agents. You know, we didn't have any money. It was at the time it was a Warner Brothers movie. It was a small but really important role because it was the comic relief of the movie, and I knew I needed you. I just knew it, and you did it, man. And you flew between different sets, and you brought so much relief. Like when I make movies, especially emotional ones, I think of it like pressure, and you're building the pressure, and we need somebody like you to relieve the pressure. And when that pressure gets relieved, like, oh, we can relax and we can laugh, and then the pressure builds again. And that's what you offered us. So yeah.
You had such a great crew. That crew we worked with on Fatherhood too, which was great too. You know what it is, and if this anything I don't talk about much, but like I'm big on stuff with heart in it, man. Like I love heartfelt things.
Yeah.
Like I try to make stuff that I will watch. And like Clouds, just the whole story, man. When you told me about it, I was like, okay. Because let's think about it. I'm playing a white man, really, right? The real Mr. Weaver is a real whole white man.
There's not a lot of black folks in that part of Minnesota.
This is a whole like Justin, like you a cool white guy, right? You look cool. Mr. Weaver was a straight up white guy. Like if you look at white dude in the dictionary, they'd be like, Mr. Weaver be right there. And so like to embrace it, and you know what's funny about it? I forgot how I even got a chance to communicate to Mr. Weaver. I don't know if it's Instagram. But it felt like he was so happy that I played him.
He was. He was so happy. He's never been so cool in his entire life. He was so happy. One of my favorite memories though was when you and I first got to really know each other. We were sitting in wherever we were. It was like lunch, and we sat next to each other. And you started telling me some of your favorite movies were Hallmark movies.
Yeah. We sat and had lunch together on set.
And I first of all, I thought you were playing a joke on me, and. But then you were so earnest about it. You're like, no, I love Hallmark movies. I want to make a Hallmark movie. And I was like, who is this guy? And you started talking about how much your kids and how much you love them. And you were so open. And, you're a movie star. And I'm making a little movie. And you're just like talking about all this. And you just, anyways, I fell in love with you that day. And I just was so grateful. So you tell me to jump, I'll jump, man. Anything you need from me ever, I'm here.
Well, you know what's crazy? I think that's I think the beautiful part about being in our work world, I think you learn you don't have to be whatever traditionally has always been. Like you can come in with morals and just being a cool person. Like, you know what I mean? It makes things easier. Life, a set is easier when everybody is cool. Like, guys, it don't have to be a weird thing if everybody's just nice and cool. And so that's what I love about working with you, which is why I can't wait to work with you again. You know what I mean?
Well, we're gonna do it. Maybe even maybe this year. We're talking about something. There's something cooking.
No, it's something cooking. I know. I got your text. I know what it is. Now I'm gonna tell you this: the book I'm looking forward to. Okay, you have a book coming out in October.
Yes,
Boys Will Be Human.
Yes, sir.
That's the book. That's the guidebook on the kids 10 years old and up they're able to express rather than repress. Correct?
Ooh, I'm gonna steal that.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
You should have wrote the book. No, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, it comes out in October. The book that's so awkwardly sitting between you both right now, my with my face on it, is Man Enough, and I felt like, look, it's really hard to get men to read a book about masculinity because we don't think anything is wrong. So I really felt like we needed to go to the age when it really gets defined for us, when the bullying and the shaming and the policing really starts for young boys. And so I wrote this for like middle grade boys, because I don't know about you guys, but my middle grade years were terrible. And our bodies are changing, and like stuff's all out of place, and things are, hair is growing, and everything's just weird, and and people are just mean, and kids are mean because they're all insecure, and everything's happening to them too, and nobody's talking about it. Nobody talked to me about sex. nobody talked to me about porn. Nobody talked to me about any of these things. Everybody was so afraid of it. Just like nobody talks about death, right?
Mhm.
So I wanted to write this book for boys so that, I don't know, I feel like all of us needed like an older brother that we didn't have.
Right.
An older brother who can actually get real with us. And Rel, you might have had that in your family. But
Well, I'm gonna tell you something interesting. What I love about this is, and this is one section of it, is young men respecting their own bodies. Men are not really raised to respect their bodies. Because if they respected their bodies more, I think about the accomplishments of, I'm gonna have sex this early. Like, you all had like a kid that was like 11, like, yo, I'm doing it to like 15-year-olds. He's like, what? And so, that was something to brag about. When in real reality, that might ruin this young man's life because of how he see things sexually. And that's because we wasn't raised to be like, hey, this is my body, and this is like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I remember one of my last girlfriends, I remember me and her going back and forth one day, and like we had an argument, and she still wanted to do it, right? And I got mad, like, look, this is my body, and I'm not doing it. And I like stormed out the room with my robe on. I was like, what just happened? And I remember coming back, and she apologized because she's like, oh, it is. And I'm like, and the only reason I did that because like maybe like before that I started really thinking about this, like, we never really embraced our bodies. I think honestly, this is straight up real. I think I was watching an interview with R. Kelly and him talking about sleeping with grown women when he was young.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yo, that had to truly affect this guy. Like straight up affect him because we're told to like, if long as we have it, like even with like, and I hate to bring up people, but it's all public. I don't care. Lil Bootsy, for instance, right? The rapper Lil Bootsy. I don't know if you know who Lil Bootsy is, but
no idea. Just a clueless white guy on the other side of the camera right here.
Hey, Lil Bootsy, all right.
His brother got his young son hired a woman to like sleep with him and give him like that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's exciting. You know what's about April, right?
Yeah. I was actually thinking about that while y'all were talking about it because he, I think, has like this mindset that if he does it to them early, like if they experience a woman early, then they won't be gay. Yeah. I think that was actually like
it's all rooted in homophobia.
Which is also crazy because as a grown woman doing that, a lot of people don't even bat an eye because it's a woman with a boy and like, oh, boys want sex. But if that was a grown man doing that to a 9-year-old girl, because I think his son was 9 when it happened. It would be a totally different. It'd be like, he was like 9 or 10 years old.
He was young.
Yeah, he was really young.
Wow. And it's so weird. Now I'll say this, I'm thankful for my family. Like I'm the oldest, but like my mother just made me really comfortable talking to her about anything. And everything. Like when I lost my virginity, I told her, even though I was like extra grown.
Really?
I was like 20-year-old man. Like, Mom, I lost my virginity. It's
you
like,
lost your virginity at 20?
Yeah, I was old.
Wow.
I was an old virgin.
I was 20. I was also 20.
Oh,
you was
really?
20?
Okay.
It was so funny. It was like I've been losing my virginity and how like I don't even. Well, it's terrible, I guess. But I don't remember the girl's name, but she made me really comfortable.
Okay.
She made me really, she understood. I was like, and I didn't matter, like, this is my first, like, I was bragging about being a virgin at one point. Like, yeah, I ain't did it yet. Like, all right, cool. But then it was at that time, made more girls like me. Like, so you ain't did it yet. Okay. I'll be your first. Like, wait a minute, lady, I ain't ready yet.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting that, like, and that's what I love about this book is it's so much to embrace. And we just grew up as men not able to talk about those. Even when you say if they gave sex education classes, it was almost kind of one perspective of it.
Always.
It was like, don't have a baby.
That's it.
That was all it was. Don't have a baby.
I mean,
she got stuff, you got stuff. Don't have a baby.
People are even afraid to teach sex education and talk about condoms because then they're having sex. It's like we're so in denial. And yet it's a part of our culture. It's literally a gift that God gave us, right? It's how we procreate in many ways, people who are heterosexual. And it's like we can't run from it. Why do we not talk about it? And who decides the age in which kids are ready to talk about it. You know, I mean, and this isn't in this book. I mean, maybe someone will write this book, but I think that young boys should learn what pleasure is and how to okay, if you're a heterosexual man, like how do you pleasure a woman? It's not from watching porn. Don't do that. Don't do the stuff that you see there. That's not going to make it right. But nobody's talking about these types of things, and I think that's been one of my missions, just in general, is I want to talk about the stuff that nobody's talking about, so that we can start to heal. Man, I feel like we have so much trauma from our childhoods, passed down from generations. I mean, there's trauma from hundreds of years. I mean, there is so much trauma just living in our bodies right now. And as men, we don't know how to let that trauma move through us, because we're taught like we got to be brave and strong and tough and impermeable. We got to protect and provide. We got to be robots, and robots don't have emotions. So how can we process trauma when we don't allow ourselves to feel? So like the late, great Bell Hooks, right? With one of the great feminist authors of our time, a Black woman, she writes, the greatest act of violence that men commit in a patriarchy is not violence against women. It's violence against themselves. And that's when we commit an act of soul murder, when we literally kill our souls by numbing ourselves to our feelings. So we don't know how to cry. We don't know how to emote. We don't know how to have joy or how to dance and be free. Now, I know some of this is culturally specific, but I can speak on behalf of most white men here. Like, we're not free in our bodies. We don't know that. And so how do I cry when, if I cry, I'm seen as a pussy, right? Or or the homophobia comes in, or I'm seen as gay, which means I'm less than, right? And like the pecking order of like the patriarchy, if you will. So then I don't have any room. I have a very narrow definition of who I'm allowed to be. And if I deviate from that path, then it's scary. It's the only thing. Let's think about it this way. As men, we don't realize this, but every day when we wake up and we go out into the world, we have to prove that we're men. It's like it can be taken away from us. Someone can decide, one of our boys can decide that like we're not a man that day. But if this is who I am. You can't take that away from me, but the world can. And that's how we operate. We're in fight or flight. We're like, our shield, our armor is on all the time. We got to make sure that we are men. But that doesn't happen to women. Women, they don't have their femininity taken from them. Their femininity is innate to them. Their emotion, their capacity to love, their sensitivity, their sweetness, their softness. This is who they are. They don't. If they're not that, they're maybe in their masculine, or we say like they're acting like a guy. But for men, no, we can take that away. So I just want to talk about it so that we can like be fucking free.
Look, the temperatures aren't the only thing rising this summer. That's right. This episode is brought to you by Blue Chew. Guys, confidence can take you far in life. You know, it can help you in the bedroom, especially when it comes time to step up to the plate. That is where Blue Chew comes in at. Now, Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable tablets at a fraction of the cost. Now, you can take it many times, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be wherever you need to be with the opportunity arises. That's right. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of the licensed medical providers, and once you've been approved, you receive your prescription within days. Now, the best part, it's all done online. So no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew's tablets are made in USA and prepared to ship direct to your door in a discreet package. That's right. Nobody will know that you're receiving this package except your dick. All right, y'all. That's what it is. So if you can benefit from some extra confidence when it's time to perform, Blue Chew can help. Well, that's funny, too. Not funny, but like real as far as both sides of the coin goes, right? Because once again, when you do have women that step up to the plate, you know, they're like, well, you're trying to be a man. You're trying to be this, you're trying to be that. And it's like, no, this is the situation. This is what I got to do.
That's what they have to do, right?
And I think it's just, and you said this earlier, our world especially our country, is so traumatized
Oh man, yeah, so much.
by so many things. I think right now, because we're being able to think a lot freely, everything's being exposed to how messed up everything is, right? Like, oh, this is truly messed up. I mean, right now we're seeing a real battle. I mean, when you just think about like, what's going on with the Senate and abortion, like
Oh my
telling
God, yeah.
women what to do with their bodies, right? It's like, as simple as this sound with us talking about it, we're like, this don't sound crazy to y'all. Because, it's so interesting because we just have, unfortunately, we had a school shootings where it's like, yeah, y'all want to have children, but you don't protect them?
Yeah, it's yeah.
What the fuck are y'all talking about? You know what I mean? Like, what are y'all, it just doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense. But when you look at the history, and it's so funny, I looked back. This is a book I'm getting into, an Indigenous People's History of the United States. And when you look at our history, it does make sense. It all makes sense. The fact that 50 years ago, 40 years ago, we couldn't be doing this together. I mean, you can touch the history. We interact every day with people whose grandparents are still alive who were anti Martin Luther King Jr. and the Civil Rights Movement, right? You think you think that's not passed on from generations, right? And we're so detached from who we are, from our souls, and I think we're just so focused on fighting against something instead of fighting for something. It's like, what do we believe in? What did Jesus really stand for? For love. Jesus wasn't about like all the things you shouldn't do or you shouldn't be. He was about the things you should do and you should be. But we're so focused, it's almost like we have so much trauma. All of us, none of us feel like we're enough in any way. So we faction ourselves. We align with people who share similar beliefs of the things that we're against. So it's via hate that we unite instead of via love and our similarities, which is one of the reasons why I love my faith so much. Because it's all rooted in love and this idea that we're all one. Baha'u'llah says we are the fruits of one tree and the leaves of one branch. Like, we're all one. So like, we're fighting over a fucking sandbox. We're like, my kids are 4 and 6. We are 4 and 6. When I turn on the news, I'm like, we're just a bunch of children fighting over toys in the sandbox, and everybody wants to be right. And then people are having tantrums and storming off. The only difference is like they're not playing with toy guns; they're playing with AR-15s.
That's right.
And so we have to find a way to and look, comedy is one way of doing it. You guys can say things in comedy that can pierce the heart and the veils of the most cold, shut-in people, and you can give them truth. And that's what movies are for, and that's what conversations like this are for.
Well, I'm glad you said that. Well, my bad. Like, I was going to say, even with comedy, when I see comics participate in the hate conversations, like you're making this funny to promote the hate part of it.
Yeah.
And I hate to see that. And we're seeing a lot more of that today, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
Because it does go to and this is what's weird, right? We talking about I'm a man of faith also. And I've had this debate with a lot of my friends, even most recently. It's like, I always think it's funny when people try to hide things from God, right?
I was
You know what I mean? Like, you
what?
can drive to the club. If I want to play some Walter Hawkins, Yolanda Adams, you think it's going to change? God know I'm going to the club. Like, if I want to hear a gospel song before I walk in the club, it won't change shit. Because God know that's happening. And so I think, with this society that's always existed, it's about hiding things.
Yeah.
And people use religion to hide things. Like, when the day when people stop humanizing God, you'll live life so much better. God is not us. Why would God be that judgmental? Why would God do this? Why would God, even when sometimes when people get mad at God, like, God, why didn't you stop this war? And why did you do this? Look, if I created something, I would want to see what y'all gonna do. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, go ahead. I'm not gonna intervene like, I want to see how you make these decisions. That is the point of all this.
Yeah.
And so, like, I love the fact, and that's why I love talking to you, even just today, It's just when people stop hiding from everything, look, if you truly hate somebody, just say it. Don't give me a version of, wait a minute, you're lying. And you can't help yourself. And I think that's what we're seeing now is the volcanoes erupting.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All over. The Ring of Fire, that volcano that's erupting everywhere.
And it's passed down, like you said.
I think it becomes really hard to hate people when you learn to love yourself.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, so much of it comes from a hatred of our own selves. You know, it's like, why are we the most triggered by the people we're the most like? They remind us of the things we don't like about ourselves.
There's certain shortcomings.
It's why our family triggers us so much, you know?
Yeah.
You know, you show me the most evolved person in the world and you put his mom and dad and sister and brother in a room for 4 hours together. I'll show you somebody who's about to break. You know?
That's real.
It's just like, you know, and sure, there are exceptions to the rule, but so much of my personal work is if I can get right with those people, I can get right with anybody. And and I grew up in a loving family, but in my family there was so much shit swept under the rug too. But they weren't even aware that they were doing it. And so I grew up because at the end of the day, I'm sure you guys can find this for yourselves, but I believe that all of us are an amalgamation of our inherent potential of who God wants us to be and also the outcome of our trauma. So those two things together create this trauma response that also I believe, this is where God comes in and faith, I believe that it puts us on a path. So what happened, it couldn't have happened any other way. I was made to tell stories. However, my particular trauma encouraged me to be a truth seeker. I can't handle when things are not said. If someone doesn't like me, I need to be the person that's like, I know you clearly don't like me. And whatever I did, I'm sorry. Let's talk about it. I can't handle it. We need to talk about things. And everywhere I look, nobody's talking about anything. Right? And then, of course, now you mix in social media. You mix in all of you talk about the comedy that's going towards the hate. So much of it is we're living in an attention economy where everybody has an attention like a goldfish. 5 seconds. TikTok. Get your point across in 5 seconds. Make sure the top of the video is the ending or the most important. And so we're all everyone's like competing for likes and follows, right? It's all a dopamine rush. Everyone's trying to feel like they're enough. And so the easiest common denominator is the lowest, which is, let me go to the hate. Because what happens when you're driving down the 405 freeway, for those of us in California, and there's an accident on the side of the road, everybody stops because they want to see the drama. They want to see, is everybody okay? Or is there a car crash? That's what we do in life. We gravitate towards the negative. We gravitate towards the car crashes, when in reality, if we could live in the light, if we could live in the optimism, if we could take the path less traveled and be more hopeful and carve a new path forward, sure, it might not be as instant. You might not get as many likes. You might not get as much money for a Netflix deal, but you'll be happy and you'll make a bigger difference in the world, and God sees all of it.
You know what's interesting? I think that's why, how people get mad at you for like I'm one of those people that know when I do something wrong. I'm like, I was wrong.
Oh yeah.
And they could get mad at you for just being casual about it. But it's like, no, I've owned that I'm not perfect. Like, yeah. And so I can't even get that angry at myself because I'm like, well, something else probably gonna happen. And I can't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what to do with that. Like, I don't have it in me anymore to be like, it's like, I gotta just be like, all right, happened. I gotta move on from it. It's what it is.
It's all about pivoting through all situations to continue. It'd be great.
But that's what I'm saying. That makes it's interesting. Like, I think life gets better when you don't run away from what's not dope about you.
Yeah, you go into it. I mean, every single movie that we love is based on Joseph Campbell's principle, where you go into those parts of yourself that suck. You go into the forest. You go, it's all a metaphor for the journey that we have to take as heroes. That hero's journey into the shit about ourselves that's terrible to become who we're meant to be. But we don't do that in real life. By the way, when you said you apologize, it made me think. So when my vows to my wife, I apologized for all of the times I'm going to fuck up in our marriage.
Nice.
I
Smart.
literally was like, I'm so sorry for all the ways I'm going to screw this up and fall short. And thank you in advance for not leaving me.
Man got ahead of it quick.
So,
Wait,
pro tip,
did you do that? You did that at the wedding?
at our wedding, as we're reading our vows, it was in my vows.
Genius.
Because I'm like, what am I going to say? Like, what promise can I make except the only promise that I can truly make is the promise that I am going to screw up. Like, I am going to say stupid shit. I'm going to, like, you know, insult her or hurt her feelings. And that's I know that about myself. But what I also can promise is that I'll bounce back and that I'll call myself out on it and I won't stay there and I won't deny it and I will learn from it. And that's been true. You know, 9 years of marriage so far, I have messed up more times than I can count. Thank God I said it in those vows. So, except she forgets about those vows a lot because I need to apologize.
You pull out that DVD like, wait a minute, now this is what I said.
Do you remember? I called it.
I said this. I said it up front. Now, everybody was there. Everybody saw this. Here we go.
Now, Rare went into it, and you talked about this in your TED Talk. If you feel ashamed of anything, you go straight to it instead of running away from it. So, what got you there, like to do that?
I mean, I was so tired of running away. I mean, that TED Talk was, I mean, first of all, I tried to run away from that TED Talk. Let's be honest. I tried to back out of that multiple times because, you know, I kind of felt like when you guys asked, I have massive imposter syndrome. So when you guys asked me to be on this podcast, my first thought was like, I am not funny at all. Why what am I going to do on Rel's podcast? And so that was my first, like literally my first thought. And I'm constantly having to rewire my brain to remind myself like, okay, he knows I'm not funny. He doesn't need me to be funny because old Justin would have just been like trying to be funny this whole time and not going deep. But who I am today is someone that's like, I might make a joke, it might not work, but let me go and show you who I am. And I, for so many years, especially as a man, was just trying to be who I thought everybody wanted me to be, who society wanted me to be. And if there was an issue, what I learned in my family was, no, we don't, you know, you can kind of talk about it a little bit, but don't spend too much time there. Religion also uses a lot of this. You know, my mom was Jewish, my dad was Catholic, and there's a lot of guilt on both of those sides. And sure, this idea that like God will absolve you of your sins, but there's also, like you said, this idea like, let's just pretend like it didn't happen. And so that's what we do. So for me, I was like, okay, how come as a man, I'm told that I should work my ass off in the gym? I need to lift heavier weight. I need to keep pushing until I feel the burn. How come that's okay? But emotionally, I'm not allowed. I have to stay away from the things that hurt and burn. There was a disconnect for me. And I was tired of running. And I realized that my relationships were suffering and my life with my family, with my friends, because I wasn't actually honoring who I was in each of the moments that I was in and what a gift I can be. But if I don't believe in myself, if I'm not full of myself, then if I just have massive imposter syndrome everywhere I go, I'm just going to be whoever the world wants me to be. So I started going into it and it was uncomfortable and it was painful, but I've never been more grounded. I've never been happier. Joy feels different. Pain can visit me, but it doesn't have to live with me.
Nice.
And it's because I'm actually addressing it. And the best way I can describe it is, you know, I'm raising a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old right now. They are my 6-year-old, and I know, Rel, you've been through this. I don't know what's happening emotionally inside of her, but there are times when there's a monster. And I'm like, what's happening? And she'll be in a great mood, and then suddenly she'll ask for a different fork, and she's screaming and crying, and my wife and I are looking at each other. And what we've learned is that our first impulse as adults, as people, is that we want to stop what's happening. I want to stop. I want to fix the tantrum. I want to try to figure out what's wrong with my daughter, what's wrong with my son. When in reality, what we've learned is that children have free access to their feelings. And during the day, over the course of a child's day, they experience lots and lots of trauma. Little things, because they don't process the world in the way that we do yet. So not getting something that they want is traumatic for them. It can be compared to a big trauma for an adult. And they store that trauma in their body. And then when that trauma reaches a point where they can't contain it anymore, their bodies just know they have to let it out. And what they found is when they measured the tears of children, they looked at what was inside those tears, they found stress hormones. We're literally clearing out our stress hormones when we're allowing our children to cry. And yet we stopped doing that as adults. We stopped doing that. So at a certain point, our parents made us stop crying. We tell all the boys, no, man up. No crying in baseball. Can't cry. Well, what are we doing? We're keeping all that stress inside of our bodies. So by going into the pain, by allowing ourselves to feel whatever it is that we're feeling, we're actually freeing ourselves. We're cleansing ourselves. We're cleansing our bodies. And it allows it to pass. And it's so simple. It's like, okay, you work out to the point where you grow muscle. Like it has to burn and then your muscles get bigger. It's very simple. It's the same thing happens spiritually and emotionally. You go to the place where it hurts, it gets released, you feel better.
That's such and that's what I was talking about earlier. Like when you get to that point, it's tough to do that. First of all, it's not an easy thing to do.
Oh, I struggle all the time.
And therapy helped that. Like every therapy session I go to, even when I don't know it's something else, it's something else. It's like, oh yeah, okay. This is a thing too. Okay. Which is most of the time I'm literally driving from therapy. I was joking with them maybe a couple episodes ago in tears. So if you pull up next to me, it's like a lot of times it's happy tears. Like I got my favorite song playing. It's like, I'm okay. This has to happen. For me to function, this has to happen. And which is so funny too, because it's funny you talk about like even coming to do the podcast. And I don't know what anybody expects when they come to do this, because it's like, I just want it to be straight and real. Like, I don't care. Yeah. And which is what I love about comedy too. Like, if you do comedy from a real place and not plotting, not planning, not saying this is where I'm gonna go. And that's how I've always done my stand-up. Mm-hmm. I've done whole specials what I didn't know what I was gonna do. And I hate to, damn, I'm saying this, and people like, I do it. You're like,
right,
but like,
exactly.
it's up there winging it for millions of dollars. But that's what's my skill. My skill set comes from that because I let my comedy feel the moment. I let when I get into character on stage, it was a time I had to stop doing my mom because I missed her way too much.
Yeah.
And so I'm talking about people be dying laughing in a crowd, and I'll be just standing there looking at them, trying not to cry.
Yeah.
Because even though I just impersonated her and we're laughing, I'm like, I really missed this woman, because I would dive so far into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things, and that's what I'm saying. What I love about doing this podcast so far is that we've been able to just go to real places and without trying. You know, because laughter is medicine too.
Yeah, hell yeah, it is. God loves laughter.
Because honestly, that's how I picture God most of the time, cracking up.
Yeah.
When I'm like crying, like, God, why is this happening? And God be like, bruh, this happened before, bro. Do I need to show you a replay of this happening again? You did the same thing. You're like, all right, you're right.
And you got through.
You got through. So, brother, relax. It's part of the game. You know what I mean?
God has to have a sense of humor. He has to have a sense of humor. They, she, he, whatever God is, has to have a sense of humor.
God has to have the biggest sense of humor, right? Yeah. At all times. And that's what I don't know, man. That's what I love about talking to you, man. Just talk to anybody that's comfortable in their own skin. And I honestly think Hollywood helps expose that if you're able to take yourself out of it a bit and then really explore who you are and your feelings.
Yeah.
Because it speeds the process up. Like, you get a little fame under you, it just speeds everything up. Everything is sped up. Everything is enhanced.
It just shows you who you are, right?
Man, it's a mirror right there. Like, hey, you got everything. Now, are you happy with who you are? And it's like,
and most of the time we're not. You know,
most of the time we're not.
That's the same thing I tell parents. It's like I see people that are like newly married or thinking about getting married, and they're like, "Oh, we should have a kid," and I'm like, "No, you guys are about to break up." Well, why? They're like, "No, but maybe a kid will fix it." I'm like, "No, it's the last thing that you want to do right now, is because a kid, just like money or fame, is just going to show you the problems that are already there."
Yep.
You know, and except now
And
you have
then
a
you
new
bring-
life there.
And then you bring right. So now you bring a life into tension.
Yeah.
That's
And nothing
already
is
there.
fixed. And then they're just repeating the cycle. Right?
No,
That's
sorry,
generational trauma right there.
That kid come out like, hey, wait, hey. I did not ask for this shit. You could have waited, okay?
Hey,
I
Justin.
agree. Yes, sir.
I really want to get into self-care practices, man.
Oh.
Let's get into right now. Biohacking. April really wants to know about this tape over the mouth, man, while you sleep. So come on, just give me a little bit on that.
The taping over the mouth?
Yeah, please.
Please.
April, where did you hear me talk about that?
It was some interview that you did where
Oh,
you
man.
said you sleep with tape on your mouth to increase the nitric oxide to your brain. And I need to know, where did you learn this and what kind of tape do you use?
I know it makes me sound like it's like a Silence of the Lambs thing, this visual of like my mouth shut. No, so
That's exactly what I was visualizing.
And then also like I'm like, is it a special tape? Because you know, if it's like in the middle of the night and like Emily pokes you, do you have to like take it off? Like I need to know the intel on the tape.
all right, so look, it's embarrassing, but it's also amazing. So I have despite having a huge nose, I've had obstructed airwaves in this big nose. And I had a surgery for a deviated septum when I was, I think, about 10 years ago. So I was dating my wife at the time, and I'd be sitting there with her, and she'd say to me like, baby, breathe. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm breathing. And as it turns out, I spent most of my life holding my breath. And I think a lot of men do this because we're just sitting here like tense all the fucking time. And she'd say I'd make these sounds. Like I'd be sitting there, and after like a minute of not breathing, I'd sound like little air coming out of a balloon. And then I realized then I was a mouth breather, number one, because I was never fully able to breathe out of my nose. So I went in, I had the surgery so I could breathe better out of my nose. And a lot of the research that I looked at just pointed to increased nitric oxide is just so important for our overall health. And our body needs nitric oxide to survive. And you know, when we breathe through our mouths, we're not giving ourselves a chance to actually, you know, create it. I mean, it's kind of like a filter. Our nose, it goes through our nose and it's distributed through our body and our brain. So I sleep with mouth tape so that at night I breathe just through my nose. And at first it was really hard. I wear these like kind of nasal strips. So I look like a mess at night when I go to sleep. I got the nasal strips on, I got the mouth tape, and I just use a really simple medical grade mouth tape so I can just take it right off. And you can also breathe through it. There's a company called Somnifix or something that actually makes a mouth tape that has a hole in it. The whole idea is not to like not breathe at all through your mouth. It's just to train yourself to breathe through your nose more. And they've also found, and they've even found that children who grew up breathing only through their mouth have different facial structures. So it's like they're even saying like a really proportioned face is like because then it's nose breathing, and then it changes the way your jaw is set even. So it's really interesting. It's, you know, I'm into all that biohacking, longevity stuff, but all of it at the end of the day is just about optimization. And I understand also that like if I didn't do that, I would be fine. But if we're here, why not? Like, why not try to optimize? I get one body, you know, why not try to make it work a little bit better?
April's about to go buy this tape as soon as this is over.
I actually was already good. I was like, okay.
See?
No, I was.
All right, our next partner has a product I literally use every day now, man, because I wake up in the morning and I need something healthy. It's Athletic Greens. The taste to it is tropical. It doesn't taste like medicine. It doesn't taste healthy. I don't even know what that means, tasting healthy, but it doesn't taste it. It tastes very good. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel great. And I get my day started with Athletic Greens. So what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. Yes, that's right, adaptogens, to help start your day right. Now, this special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and yes, aging. All those things.
Adaptogens.
Adaptogens. Not adaptogens.
Adaptogens.
Yeah.
Look, right now it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. Now, to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you, I'm talking about you, a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Now, look, all you got to do is visit athleticgreens.com/keepingitreal. Again, that is, and I want you to hear this out because people don't listen well sometimes, so I got to say it again. Okay? It's athleticgreens.com/keepingitreal. Now, to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance, get your Athletic Greens. That's right, athletic vegetables in the bottle. Even when you just brought up children, it made me think about that too, because I think about little Harlem, my youngest, and just breathing. Like, it's interesting. It got me over here deep and really thinking about it.
I'm looking at my kids a lot, just in general. You know, I'm 38 now. And I'm even looking at the way that they move and they move their bodies, and they can do stuff so naturally that I can't do. Like I would break my back trying to get into their positions and their squats and things. And so for me, self-care right now is looking at my children, and I'm watching how joyful they are when they go outside and they're excited about something. How my daughter, when I take her into Target and she says, "This is the best day of my life," you know, and she's just so happy. And I'm like, we're just in Target. Are you okay? But what is it? What is it about them that allows themselves to feel the joy, to feel happy, to have the wonder when they look at the world, to move their bodies and to play? And I want to be more like them and more free. And so when I think about self-care, I think about how I can unlearn so much of the stuff and the trauma and the way that I've been forced to be, and strip that away and be free. You know, be free to sing terrible karaoke. Be free to dance and not look good and look silly. You know, be free to cry when I have feelings. If I'm angry, to go into the garage and scream like a little kid. My God, boys, have you ever done that? If you have not, I tell you, the next time you're really pissed about somebody or something, somebody hurts you, find a second to be alone. Go into your car and just scream from like a primal place, from like your belly, fucking hit the steering wheel, whatever you got to do. Underneath that scream is going to be another feeling. And you'll allow yourself to feel it. Therapy's taught me this. Getting in my body has taught me this. That's really, for me, self-care.
So no reason to ask you about the cold plunge. No.
The cold plunge is a metaphor, right? The cold plunge is a metaphor for like exactly what you asked me earlier, which was your question of like going into that feeling. Why the hell would I want to jump into an ice cold bucket of water? Like that's crazy. Like that's not fun. It's like, it's damn near psychopathic. Like it's terrible. I have a sauna. Okay, I'll be in the sauna for a few minutes, but I don't want to get into the cold. But that is how we're trained to also look at life. There's so many things that we are told to run away from. So the cold, for me, by the way, I have not gotten in it recently. I will admit that. The last 3 or 4 months, I have not been mentally strong enough to get in. I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna let that. I'm just gonna let that go, because and I know where I am emotionally based on, am I willing to sit in the cold? Can I sit in cold for 2-3 minutes and not get out? And oftentimes, once I'm in it, it's not the problem. It's getting in it. It's having the conversation that we don't want to have. It's going into the discomfort. It's admitting something. It's admitting you failed in front of your whole team or your company or a movie set. Whatever that is, that's the cold plunge. That's what it represents for me.
Wow.
So that's why we have it.
Let me tell you something. I loved it. And I just want to rewind something back real quick. You know, you was talking about your children and just how free they are, how free they feel. That is an applause to you and your wife. You know, like, I think a lot of, I always say this, I feel like this generation of children growing up in general they're just freer. Like, I have my son on one of the episodes we just did, and I just loved hearing him talk.
Oh,
he just sounds like a free, smart kid that can have all these thoughts and this and that. And to me, that's like, I don't know, it felt like an applause to me and his mom. Like, all right, this kid, he can just think how he want to. And that's dope to me. Like, oh, wow, you have all these ideas and you do. Like, you're comfortable in your own skin.
Mm.
And that's just a beautiful thing because it's like I think about how many times I wasn't.
Mhm.
And it took me almost till I'm 40 to be like, oh, I'm finally comfortable in my own skin. Like
Not
when you meet
wild.
a person that's comfortable, it's wild, but it's become beautiful to me too. Like I can't even. It's so funny. It is wild, but I don't even have time to complain about it.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
like I got here. Fuck
You
it.
got here.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I know so many people that still haven't got there. Like I'm
Mhm.
literally chilling in that. Like we went out to dinner last night, me and my kids and my girlfriend and her daughters. And it's just that moment of like just sitting at the head of the table. It's kind of old school, but just watching everybody be happy.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's nice. Kids are happy. They having conversations. They're laughing. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool. That's what it's all about.
It is.
I'm chilling.
So
Give me a cappuccino.
Those are the moments.
you have 2 girls or
I have a little boy who's 4.5.
You have a little boy?
And
Okay.
and almost 7-year-old daughter. Yeah.
so being a girl dad, how did that change your outlook on parenthood and feminism?
Mm.
You with the deep questions, man. I love it.
So I do.
It's something that frustrates so many women when men say having a daughter changed me.
Mm.
Because we shouldn't have to have daughters to change.
Mm.
But having a daughter absolutely also did change me. And I have to admit that. Granted, I was on this course before. One of the principles in the Baha'i faith is the equality of the sexes. Right? We're told in the Baha'i writings that humanity can be likened to a bird. On one wing is male and the other wing is female, but it's not until the wings are equivalent in strength that the bird can fly.
Mm.
And so I grew up with this, and then I married my wife and learned so much about women and feminism that I hadn't thought of. And then I had a daughter, and it was the first time that I saw the world as a threat.
Mm.
Wow.
And I wish that it didn't take that. I wish it didn't take me bringing a child into this world. And honestly, there's even if I had had a boy first, I still would have seen the world for the first time as a threat. Because when you have a child, everything can kill them.
Mhm.
Right? And you start to realize just how temporary this life is and how fragile and delicate it is. But with a daughter specifically, I just remember looking out and being like, man, I'm too late. The fact that I want to protect my daughter, I want her to grow up in a world where she doesn't need protecting from boys, where like that's not a sign of masculinity that a boy has to grow up to be a man to protect women. What are we protecting them from? We're protecting them from other men. But other men are only allowed to be bad men because us good guys weren't good enough.
Mm.
We didn't have the conversations we should have had in the locker room when we were 13 or 14 and we heard the boy talking about like all the stuff he was going to do to the girl. We weren't man enough to have those uncomfortable conversations. We didn't go into that cold plunge because there's nothing worse as a young boy than being a traitor to your own gender. Something worse than being called a girl or gay, right? These are the rules that we've established early on. And it's especially true, as I'm sure you guys know, in the Black communities and in other types of communities where you've had to become hyper-masculine because the world is a threat, especially white men and women, right? So it's the same and culturally also very different and socially also different. So, looking at this world, it's scary. You have a daughter, you look at it and you're like, man, wow, I was not a good guy. Then I start to think about all the jokes about the dad on the porch with the shotgun, right? Well, why? Why did the dad sit on the porch with the shotgun? Because he didn't want his daughter dating somebody like him.
Wow.
So I thought you start to think about all of those things. And so when I had my daughter, I was like, I just kind of went into hyperspeed in terms of the work that I wanted to do with masculinity. And also, I don't want to raise a girl who is going to fit in the box. I want to raise a girl that's going to shatter the ceiling, the glass ceiling that men have put there. I want to raise a girl that's going to be loud and is comfortable being in quote unquote her masculine, which is really just another human aspect of herself. I want to raise a girl who grows up to be a woman that knows that she doesn't need a man, but she can want one if she chooses to like men. And these are not things that like were conscious for my parents' generation. I want to raise a young woman to grow up knowing that she doesn't need protecting. But at the same time, she has to be realistic about the world that she lives in and know that men are not necessarily safe places for her. And that only starts with me and my work and doing that work. So the answer is, it taught me a lot. I wish I could say like, oh, I was on this journey and I had, read all bell hooks and I had done all this and I was a feminist. But no, having a daughter did accelerate and put it into hyperdrive. Because we got to have we need to create a safer world, not just for women, but for queer folks and trans folks and for everybody. Because we're fucking humans. And we're all on this floating rock together,
But that's what's so interesting. It's like all we need to do is create a world where everybody's comfortable with who they are. And also learn that some shit ain't none of our business.
Yeah, man. For real.
Some shit ain't none of our business. It's so weird that like I thought about this one day and woke up like, some of this shit ain't none of our business. If people wasn't being so nosy, you wouldn't care what somebody was doing in their own bedroom with who they're doing it with. Because it's none of your fucking business.
Yeah. Why do you care if tomorrow I decide to wear a dress? Why would that make you so angry unless you actually wanted to wear a dress? I don't understand it. Like, and you feel like you can't. We had an incredible person on our podcast named Alok. And they go by they, them pronouns. And Alok said something that really stuck with me. They said, we have to start to value compassion over comprehension. I don't have to understand you to love you. I should just love you. And what you do is what you do. And what I do is what I do. But like we talked about earlier, if I'm doing something that triggers you, you got to look at that for yourself. But we don't live in that culture. We don't live in an accountability culture where we take accountability. We want everybody else to take accountability.
Real? That's real.
It's such a
That's keeping it real. That's keeping it real.
We've kept it real.
We need that. That was perfect.
We're
using that soundbite. Let's keep it real.
Do it again for safety. No.
You got it.
But no, we kept it so real this whole time. I want to play a game. We play games with our special guest, man, and I said this or that, real simple.
Okay.
So go straight into it, man. Day or night?
Day.
Okay. The known or the unknown?
Oof, the unknown. But it hurts. It hurts to say it. I winced when I said it, but I know that's truth. It's the unknown.
Phone call or text?
It depends on who's calling.
The higher percentage of people, phone call or text?
Phone call.
Okay. Order or chaos?
Oh, I think that there's order in the chaos.
Ooh.
I don't know.
Okay. Okay. Acting or directing?
Directing.
I figured that already. Passenger or driver?
Driver.
Oh, I don't like traffic. Small gathering or big party?
Small gathering.
Okay. What's worse, laundry or dishes?
Men should do both. I don't have an answer for that question.
Men should. I told Rail that. Nothing wrong with that.
I would fuck that dishes.
You know what? I like doing the dishes more.
Okay. Yeah, I told you earlier.
I like doing the dishes more. It's a little more meditative for me.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of that, solo meditation or group meditation?
Ooh, group. There's something really magical about like everybody kind of coming in together. Solo is more important, but there's something really, I love group meditation.
Last one, man. TV or books?
Oh, books.
Okay, easily, huh?
Books.
That's not even a question.
Books, because that's where TV comes from.
I knew that would be your final answer. Perfect. Yep.
Yeah, but
exactly.
I was also somebody excuse me, but I was also somebody that had a hard time reading growing up. So I'm relearning, been reteaching myself the importance of books.
And now you're reteaching and reshaping the being a man or becoming a man, or yes, boys will be human.
I always
Book
like to
coming
see
out
what you're about to
October.
say to wrap up.
Yes. Perfect.
What the fuck is he going with this?
Boys will be human. It said boys will be boys. But scratch that right out and
Yes,
put
sir.
human. We're
Boys-
reshaping that. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And Man Enough is in stores.
Man Enough is in stores.
Boys Will Be Human.
Yes.
It's available for pre-order. And
Yes.
And Clouds, you can still watch Clouds on Disney Plus right
I didn't
there.
know I was coming on the show to promote anything. I thought I was just going to come hang out. But
I mean, you know,
We're doing it.
I mean,
We're doing it for.
but thank you.
I mean, this was what they made me do. I was very much against promoting anything on the show. No, I'm joking.
But everyone, if there's one thing, to go see Clouds, because Rel is so brilliant in that film.
Oh, man, I
Go
appreciate
see it.
that.
And I saw you just posted, like, somebody said it was like the second or third best movie that you've made. I was like, I'll take that.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was an IMDb list.
Second place is the first winner. I'll take that. And
But Justin, man, brother, thank you for hanging out, man. You're one of my favorite people in the world. I love not only working with you, I love everything you stand for, man. You're just all around dope. Can't wait to work with you again.
thank you, bro.
Thank you for hanging out with us, man, for real.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Feel the same way about you. And I'm so happy you're doing this show. And both of you, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you,
Hey,
man.
y'all, thank y'all for listening to Keep It Real with.
Young Wayne.
All right, we out of here.
All right, y'all.
That was a Headgum podcast.